Guys here. They met each other? Did he met each other?
Shalom Aleichem.
It's a newcomer.
Michal Lerner. Nice to meet you. Okay.
It's the artifact.
So we are started learning Hilchos Netilas Yedayim. We are holding page tough. Page tough. So last week we spoke about the reasons why behind Netilas Yadayim L'Suda, why we wash our hands before we eat bread, originates because then the Kohanim were eating truma, and the Kohanim's hands needed to be tahir. They touched the truma, shouldn't make it tamei. So therefore, Chazal said that any people aren't careful where they put their hands and touch their hands. Maybe after COVID, we're more careful, but people might have touched something tamei, and then they're going to eat truma, and they're going to make it the truma tamei. So therefore, one should wash one's hands before one eats. Not only Kohanim, they said everyone in Klal Yisrael, even Levim Yisraelim, and we should wash not only before eating truma, even when we're eating chulin, regular bread. Others in other places, it also brings out there's an idea that Chazal wanted for nikius, for cleanliness. Person should eat with clean hands. Should cleanliness. Even though now we don't have truma, kohanim are not allowed to eat truma because they're all tamei, and we don't have any way to metayr the kohanim because we don't have the afer, the ashes of the paraduma. So therefore, we don't give the kohanim today truma. We don't give them challah. We burn the challah. We don't give it to the kohanim to eat. But this takana still remains that we wash our hands before we eat. The question is, why do we do it before we eat bread, specifically? Because min haTorah truma applies to the gancha, tiroshcha, yitzarecha. The gancha is your grain. Tiroshcha, tirosh is your grapes, your wine. Yitzarecha is the oil. Now, oil and wine, you don't touch it. It's usually have it in a bottle and a cup. You don't have to putting your fingers into your wine and your oil. So you're not touching it. So Chachamim were not worried about any of wine or oil, the truma becoming tamei. So the Chatchila, there wasn't any issue with that. They never made any gzeira because if no one touches that, it's not going to become tamei. However, the issue is bread. People pick up the bread with your hands, but you don't put the bread on the bread you hold with your hands when you eat. So there you're touching it and you can make it tamei. So therefore we wash before we eat hamaitzi. Question is, what about breads like also other types of breads like mezainis? People have other breads which are mezainis, crackers, danishes, cakes. That's also chayiv and truma. It's made with grain. Why shouldn't we wash our hands before we eat mezainis? So the answer to this, we learned last week that since we don't, those are snacking, they're not for what your main meal. By your meal you have bread, although the mezainis is for snacking. So snacking, Chazal were only keveya washing hands for a suda. That's something which you keveya suda for. You sit down to eat, then they said wash your hands. You take a bite here and there. They did not make the gzeira to wash their hands. However, if one did be keveya suda on these various mezainis type of breads, and which you have to wash, which you have to say hamaitzi for, you're also going to have to wash your hands al Netilas Yedayim.
Like 2 slices pizza.
Yeah,
You have to wash.
Yeah, things like that. So even though it's not a pas gomer, it's not a complete pass. However, since you are bikaveh, so you're eating a lot of it and you're having a meal out of it, so therefore, since you have to make hamaitzi in such a situation, you also have to wash your hands. Because washing your hands is not connected intrinsically, in essence, with hamaitzi. Not in essence connected with hamaitzi. Now, another thing we started to talk last week in Sif Beis was that even when we eat bread, it doesn't mean you always have to make al Netilas Yedayim. What do you mean? We always make al Netilas Yedayim when we wash. No. There is a suffix how much bread you need to eat to make al Netilas Yedayim. Hamaitzi, even a little piece, if I want to, I have to make a bracha hamaitzi. You cannot eat something, you can't be nehene from Elam Haza without a bracha. So you want to eat a little piece of bread, even not a kazayas, you need to make hamaitzi. You're not going to make birchat hamazon because you didn't eat a kazayas. You didn't eat the size of an olive. That size that satiates you. Such a small piece, you don't need to make a bracha achreina. Bracha rishayna you have to make.
If you add some bread and some mezonot together, it's enough to make bracha achreina. You can do that?
Not necessarily. No. Now, like this. So therefore, there is a suffix how much bread you need to eat. There's a doubt. It could be that it's possible that this takana was only in a case when you ate the amount of bread, the amount of a size of an egg, of a kabeya, which is actually double the size of a kazayis, is the size of an egg. Now, the reason why we would think that this has to do with the size of an egg, because when it comes to the dinim of tuma, a meichel can only make another meichel, another food tameh, only when it's the size of an egg. Less than a kabeya is not considered food, enough food for the purposes of transfer of tuma. So since we're talking about over here, possibly transferring tuma to the food, and like it was in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, they had truma. Maybe this is only in a case when we have the size of an egg of bread. However, the other side to the coin is that maybe when Chazal set up this takana, they didn't differentiate, and they said, no, every time you're going to eat hamaitzi, you have to wash your hands regardless of the amount you eat. So because this is a suffix which has never been clarified, this is a doubt that the poskim have, remains a doubt. Therefore, the halacha is, if you know you're going to eat, you think you're going to eat a kabeya of bread, then you wash and you make al Netilas Yedayim. However, if you are not planning on eating kabeya of bread, you're planning on eating less, and that, whether you're eating kazayis or less than a kazayis, you should wash, because possibly you are obligated in washing, but don't make a bracha because there's a doubt. There's a doubt, possibly you're only chayiv in the Netilas Yedayim when you're eating a full kabeya size of an egg. You're planning on eating less shalosh shudas. Everyone's washing the shalosh. You're so full. You're just washing because you are careful about eating for shalosh. So it's important to you. So you're going to go eat a kazayas. You can't eat. You're not eating more than the minimum. You're eating the minimum for benching. That's it. Halacha is you wash. You don't say al netilas yadayim. So when you see the whole line going to wash, you have to know: are you planning on eating kabeya or not? If you're not eating kabeya, because the suffix whether you're chayiv in the mitzvah, whenever we have a suffix brachot lahakel, we don't make a bracha when we're in doubt. We only break a bracha when we're sure that we need to make the bracha. The reason for this is because the idea of making a bracha is based on Sisa Shem Elokecha Lashav. We don't want to make a bracha if we're not sure if you need to make the bracha, right? So therefore, we're not sure. We have a doubt, it's a suffix. Therefore, we don't make a bracha anything less than a kabeya. But even if you're eating a little piece, you should wash, but not make al netilas yadayim. Not make al netilas yadayim. Now,
which I never saw done. How?
Usually people eat a kabeya, it's not that much, But it could be certain people that they don't like to eat a lot of gluten. They're careful, or it doesn't sit well on them. They're so full, and they're washing because they know it's a fabrengen, you're supposed to wash, and malav malka, shalosh shudah, something, and they don't want to eat a lot. They don't want to eat. The people are conscious about their food and say, I'm just going to take a little piece to be yoitza. You don't make al netilas yadayim. It sounds funny.
Yeah.
It sounds funny, but,
What happens if you nimlach to eat a little bit more? Then you have to go wash again, make a bracha.
Once you washed already, you were yaitza, so you can't go. Once you washed, you were yaitza already. You were yaitza the mitzvah, so you can't go back. Yeah. Now, what happens if you're not eating full piece of a kabeya? You're eating little pieces. Each piece is less than a kabeya. So over here, remember that the Netilas Yadayim, we were saying the svara is why you're only chayiv and Netilas Yadayim for kabeya is because the idea of tumas oichlin only applies when the oichel is the size of an egg. Less than the size of an egg can't become tameh. So the svara is a possibly Netilas Yadayim, which has to do with tuma, should only apply when you're eating a size of an egg. So what happens if I have like a few small pieces of bread in front of me? It's slices are small slices. Each one of them are less than the size of an egg. Kabeya, very possible. Small bilkalach, small slices. So they're separate. Yes, I'm going to be eating the size of an egg, but they're each separate pieces. They're not together. Only when the oichel is one piece, the size of an egg, can it contract tumah. It's separate pieces. So here, the Alter Rebbe, this is where we left off in the middle of Sif Beis. Avol, in the paragraph in Sif Beis, Avol oichel kabeya afilu bipirurin dakin, small pieces. Yivarech alatem, you do make the bracha al netilas yadayim. Even though when it comes to tuma purposes, if it's not a kabeya, it can't get tuma. Each slice is less than a kabeya, none of them can get tuma. You're putting into you're eating, and you're gonna in your stomach, they're all going to be collected together. Since in your stomach you will have a kabeya food, even though outside it's separate, but when you open it, it will collect together. So then we considered an achila regarding Netilas Yadayim, and therefore you have to say with a bracha on Netilas Yadayim. But on the other hand, that's contrast to the Alter Rebbe. You're holding in your hand a large piece of bread. Has maybe more than even a kabeya to it. But you're planning on eating to less. I'm going to take a bite out less. pachas a kabeya, you're going to cut off, tear off a piece, bite off a piece less than a kabeya. Yita bracha, wash your hands without a bracha. Since you're not going to eat a kabeya, you're just eating a piece of it, even eat a kazais, but it's not a kabeya, just because you have it in your hand, not make you, it's still, the suffix still remains that there is a svara to say that we only make on Yedayim when it's a kabeya. And since in this case, you're not going to be eating a kabeya, you wash, but do not make a bracha on Yedayim.
But no marit iron here.
That's why in Pesach night.
You can see you have a big fest in your head, and you're not washing and you're eating.
You wash, but don't make the bracha.
Yeah, but they say you're washing without bracha. That's thinking. They don't know your head. You're not going to finish it. We're not going to kabetza. If I'm sitting here, I see somebody go wash and take the bed and eat.
We do find, it's a good question, we do find there's a concept of Maras Ayin, similar concept of Maras Ayin, regarding, let's say, someone washed in the morning for bread. Then he doesn't want to wash a whole day. So he makes a condition himself that if I'm going to want to eat bread the whole day, I want this to. And I'm going to be careful where I touch my hands during the day. Like maybe I'll wear gloves or something like that. I'll be careful what I touch. I'll watch out. So, although theoretically speaking, it's okay, and we do rely on that on certain situations,
Even if you made berchazomaz in the middle between.
Right? Yeah, good point. No connection, right? Netilas Yedayim, your hands are not tummy anymore. However, Shalom Aleichem, but
it's hell.
However,
the call is hell.
So Lamaisa, it does say in Shulchan Aruch that you shouldn't do that. We should not do such a thing. And one of the reasons is interesting because people will see you during the day eating without Netilas Yedayim.
That's the chashash.
There's a shot that people are going to see. They might think you're like a guy, maybe. Maybe they'll serve you something usher. I don't know. They don't know who you are. They see you sitting there eating like without washing your hands, B'chlal.
So
they think that you're not careful with Torah mitzvahs. Maybe you're Jewish, you're not Jewish. So it's not a healthy thing. So the Shulchan Aruch doesn't like that whole.
They'll serve you non-kosher because they're not supposed to.
Well, let's say you're wearing a cap. They don't know you have a yarmulke. They see you eating bread. There's a from owner of the restaurant, and he thinks, I don't know who this guy looks like. He's a. Okay, nowadays we know there's people not from.
About people.
We know people are not another cap. We know people are not from, but today you have a large segment. But let's say those days it wasn't as common, and it was. So the kitzur that is brought not washing entirely to be careful. But if you're not saying the bracha, someone will assume that maybe you mumbled the bracha, whatever it is, They're not looking to see if you say, but washing is already conspicuous. You go to the table, you're not washing your bread. People are like a little bit, what's going on over here? So that we take care careful about. Okay, we're holding Sif Gimel, Rabbi say. Along Sif, interesting thing about washing before we eat various other foods that are not bread. Sif Gimel. Afal pi sha'ashoisa in tzarech netilas yedayim. When you drink something, a drink, there's no need to wash your hands before drinking. If you eat a food which you're dipping it into a liquid, whether you dipped it earlier, whether you dipped it now,
Want to eat a pickle, let's say.
and it's still wet, it was never dried off, right? Tzarech, like a pickle, tzarech, or let's say you wash the tomato, you wash the cucumber, and it's still wet. Tzarech litel yad of tchila, if mashkim alulim lekabel tuma yoiser, shein tzarech hechsher. Liquids, food which is wet. We know that mashkim, a food which liquid never came on it, it can't become tummy. But a food that touched mashkim, one of the 7 liquids The Torah talks about those mashkin can become tummy. V'oid sha'af mashke chulin shenaga b'stam yedayim nitman asrishon l'tuma. V'tam ba'oichlin u'mashkin achedin kol. Furthermore, if your hands touch liquid, so drinks you don't usually touch, it's in a cup. You're touching liquids as they are on top of other vegetables, let's say, wet food. It can become, in the tamei, it's called a rishon l'tuma. Matama oichlin or mashkin achedin. B'chol even a slight amount of mashke. Therefore, he chmiru ba yoiser, mishum srach truma, v'hitzrichu, Netilas Yedayim, l'chol davar, shemeluchach hamashke. Chazal were very concerned when it came to the possibility of making truma tamei, and therefore they said you need to wash your hands if you want to eat anything that was dipped in liquid. Afilu mashke she'ein b'mini truma klal, mayim udvash, even if it was dipped in water or honey, which there is no truma, water and dvash, because the Torah said the goyincha, tiroishcha v'yitzarecha, your grain, tiroishcha, your wine, v'yitzarecha, and your shemen. So, still in all, Chazal went very far, say that all mashkim, that the food, wet mashkin, wet foods, even though the truma is not brought from that liquid at all, shimsrach trumas yaim v'shem.
What happens when?
Well, we're going to learn about why most people are not medayik in this
Right,
or
most people doesn't.
right. So you always have to read to the ending, right?
One of the stories from Obashkin when he came out to jail, said a few times, would send them cut vegetables with dips, to eat. So people of Mashke have to wash hands. So they needed them to go wash, but you can in this. And a few times he saved him because he went to wash.
Tzaddik.
No, aloche is aloche.
Once it dries
Not a problem.
because the water itself is the issue.
Issue with the liquid, touching the liquid. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll learn now about also. We're going to discuss this
The
shita.
liquid doesn't damage. It doesn't make the berry, the fruit, whatever the vegetable.
I see
Yeah.
by L'chaim on it many times.
It's the liquids. It's the problem is not the pre. It's not the vegetable. The problem is the liquids.
And
The regular liquids you drink in a cup are not a problem. You don't touch it. But liquids that are on wet foods, you're touching the wet food.
I understand that, but the liquid can't be transferred over to the thing itself once it's dry, even though it had the liquid on it before.
Right. In dinim of tuma and tara, a vegetable or fruit or any produce that the water went on has to be mukhshav kabel tuma. So after liquid went on it, fell on it, and it was wiped off. It's still mukhshav kabel tuma.
Exactly.
But over here, we're concerned about the liquids themselves, that you're metamba those liquids. Now, we're going to learn all about this shita, about when is it mutter, when is it asr, and there are many that are medayik in it, but in the ending we'll learn why many are not careful about this. So just bear with us. Even if you're going to only do the tip of the vegetable, so your fingers are not going to touch the liquid at all, the bottom of page top.
You don't touch the...
Right. Maybe you will touch it, because very often your fingers might slip into the liquid dip. Top of page top aleph. Even if you want to eat via a spoon. If you have water an 18-minute distance ahead of you, which is a mill, or Dalim mill, 4 mil behind you, 72 minutes behind. I'm sorry, that's the opposite. The way it's written.
אם מים יוצאים לפניו בתוך מעיל או דלת מילים.
No, why is it saying between Madal Mill and Teich Mill is back, and Dal Mill is ahead. So Aleph Kusana Bimel.
No.
If you're close enough to get to water.
Yeah, it's something over here is not clear. It's supposed to be Mayim Mitsuyin Lufanov. It's
In other words, ahead, you have to go 1 mil.
no, Dalin Millen ahead. Ahead, we always obligate you more because that's the direction you're going. You're traveling Dalin Mill. You're traveling ahead. So let's say if you're going to find water within 72 minutes ahead, so wait for your meal and continue. Don't eat. Wait, and you'll wash your hands. If you're going to make you go back, we're not going to make you go back
It doesn't say anything
on your
about-
trip.
I'll explain you how.
So look on Ahmed page Tuf Ahmed Zayin.
Yeah, you knew that you
You'll
were going to
see-
be eating later on, so up to four meal ahead. You know what I'm saying?
Like, if you want to eat now, but there's no water available, so we'll say if within a distance of 4 mil ahead of your journey, you're going in that direction anyways, and you're gonna hit a place where there's water. So we'll tell you wait, but if it's more, we'll tell you can eat without it, just like by bread hamaitzi. Yeah, the Toich Mill and Dal Mill.
In my Mitzvah is talking about going backward.
Backward
for 1 mile.
mill.
If you know ahead, even
4
further,
mil. Yeah, it's not clear. The Lashon here, there's something wrong with the Lashon.
Right. Now I get it.
Something is not clear here, and then I'm surprised that they're not mayor anything on the bottom. I'm very surprised. Okay.
Rabbi, platter of vegetables that have deep tahina or hummus in the middle. We're talking about this kind of thing? You go to a wedding, they be a platter with carrots, with tomatoes. In the middle, they have a dip.
Exactly, that's wet.
Right,
That's
considered wet,
and the
those-
vegetables.
But nobody wash.
And that's what we're doing now.
Depends
People
if
are
they
eating
mix
it
them with
without
water or
washing.
not.
How come?
He's going to tell you.
No, so this opinion.
How do they make them?
So if they have water in them, does that matter
I
how
don't know
much?
if they have water. Do they have water in
So
them?
What?
tahina might have, hummus generally does not.
But
Might
it
have-
might have,
dip,
but it might
any
have
dip is
oil.
water.
Probably has
Any
oil, no?
Any dip is water.
Any dip, they
All the
put
dips
some
is
water
water.
to
Why?
Look at the dip. Which we dip doesn't have water.
Eggplant is water?
Yes.
draft. That's why,
You know,
yeah.
sometimes people make them. Well, cook that.
Wait, the
plant
thing is, the eggplant is made with
and
mayonnaise. The mayonnaise has already oil and.
Water. All the dips are.
Tchina, I don't know how they make tchina.
They have
Water.
I have
It's
water
with
because they dilute from sesame tahini,
Put more water,
more thicker.
mix it
But
up. More water, mix it
dilute
up.
it with water. Hummus
all
probably has a drop of water
All
too.
the dips are water. Otherwise, they're going to lose the pen.
There's jalapeno dip. What is it? Also, with
Also, everything else because they're going to lose the pen.
probably most of them have mayo in it and things like this.
Yeah.
Oil.
And preservative stuff. Yeah.
Okay, but not everything. We're going to see right
Any
here.
lachaim that you go in cornets, anything you see on the tables, who's sitting and eating, like nobody go wash.
We'll see soon why. Gzeira shema yitablenu biyodei kedarkoi, oi yichlenu biyodei kishehu matub meluchach mashke kim shedarkei lehi ochel biyad. Now, we're talking about you're taking a food that you normally eat with your hands. And you say, I'm going to eat it with a fork or with a spoon. It's not going to help you. Because since normally you use your fingers for this,
You're going to get used to it, so you do it.
you're going to concerned, you're going to get used to it. Aval, however, important clarification, fourth line. Davar shadarke la'achal aydei kaf le'gazu shema yigabe biyadav. If it's something which you normally eat with a fork, then we don't make this gezeira and maybe you're going to touch it. Even if you're going to, by chance, your finger's going to touch the liquids, that's not the derech. So we're not concerned for that. You don't need to wash. Let's say herring. The herring is dipped in an oil
Nobody
and
touched
a
my hand.
liquid. You use a fork. Sometimes your fingers dipped in. That's not the derech. There was no gezeira. There was no gezeira on that. Now,
But the vegetable flour, you take the carrots in your hand. Nobody takes with it.
True,
Right.
true.
Take it
Yeah.
and dip it in.
Right,
With
right.
six and another-
Yeah, it's not gonna help you, right? Nicole Mokim, just like we don't say, but when he drinks, there is no drink in the world that you need to wash your hands before drinking a drink, because no one ever touches the drink. You drink, you hold a cup with it.
No, we do.
Even if sometimes you put your
We do put the finger before we take everything.
really you should go like this, right? So we do okay. It's not the derech. Even some people do it. It's not the derech. Not what most people do. L'chein, even if you are going to touch it, ain't some Yedayim v'le'oid. Pila shoyse mein biyadim in a nar. What happens if you're going to a river
You go like
and you put your hands together? You're drinking from the river. You dip your finger in some oil or honey, and you put it into your mouth. Ain't because Chazal lay down a klal. Tiknu klal latinas yedayim lamashkin. Only you're dipping a food into a liquid. They took mashkin out of the whole gezerah. Since mashkin in general are drunk with a kli, even though from the river maybe it's taka common, more common to cup with your fingers, with your hands. But since the derech of mashkin in general liquids to drink with a cup, therefore Chazal were not goyzer at all by mashkin. Mikol mokim b'dvash av, thick honey, v'roy lachila, and it's roy to eat. Sometimes people do eat it with their hands, without a keli. Skip the parentheses. In that case, which is thick, and people generally do eat it without a keli, then you should be machmer and not to take with your finger without tizdayim. A drink that's drinkable, a pourable liquid, that's Chazal removed from the Gzeira on the Til Sedayim. But something which is not pourable, thick, that's possibly part of the Gzeira.
Isn't the vash excluded because not?
When vash is thick, some vash is like liquid, and sometimes when it's
No, but it does not the gun chaser.
Correct. But that we answered in Gimel. I mean, we're in Siv Gimel, but on page Tuf, if you see 2-3 lines at the bottom of the page, afilo mashke she'ein b'minei truma klal k'goy ma'im udvash. They extended it. That you're dipping it into even water. That even though you're right that they're not shaykhs to becoming to truma at all. Now, so the Maisa comes out that we understand that there are certain foods that we eat with a fork. That's the derech, and especially today in our cultured countries, that more and more foods we eat with a utensil. And those that the derech utensil, there is no chiyah b'chlal to wash hands with a tilas yedayim. However, when you talking about something that people like to take a pickle with their hand,
that should wash.
That's something different. Medina say of these countries like Nahagu Reiv Hamain Am Little Yedayim Choldavish Mashke. Most people do not wash their hands with mashkes. You have to wait it out to the ending. There are achroinim that learn schus loimer shesam chol das mixer rishonim. They are relying on some of the rishonim she'amru she'tzicha chacham tizdayin ladavish tu b'mashka b'yimeim she'oichem betara masheikin asher kulanu tmei mesim. Since today we are all tamil mesim, so we're not so medayik. Where anyways our hands are tummy. The whole idea of washing hands is to make sure your hands are not tummy, not to make the truma tummy. Everyone's tummy today. we would touch truma, we'd make it tummy anyways because we're all tmei mason, and we never metar, so we don't have an ephra hapara to metar ourselves. There's no para aduma. So based on these mixes rishonim, the oilam is noig lahakol. Vein limchis biyadam. You can't protest on what they're doing. They have who to rely upon. We have shitas to rely upon. You can't come and say you're doing something wrong. For instance, I have my Rav. I have a paisik. If he's a reliable paisik, nothing you can do about it. The person has his paisik. Well, the ikr, you should know, the ikr really is Kisvari Shaina. Really, if you look at it from Sak Halacha purposes, most Rishonim hold that you should. However, still in all Yivarach al Netilas Yedayim, because there are some Rishonim that hold that you are not chayiv in Netilas Yedayim today for it. Safik brachas lahakol, and therefore don't make a brach on it. So comes Pesach time. Even those who in general whole year are not makbid on it, also do it because of a hiddur. Pesach or Mahader, and we do it to also that the Tinoikish should ask questions, so we do some strange things by the Seder. So even people who normally don't also wash their hands with the Mash.
At least once a year.
I'm just thinking that some of the things that we eat for karpas, I think to myself that some of the things that we eat for, let's say people take a potato for karpas. Who takes a potato and sticks in the salt with their fingers? You take it with a fork. With the dad with the fork, you're not chayiv in the Netilas Yedayim anymore. I don't know. It's a shayla I'm just thinking about right now.
But
The whole karpas, the whole idea is that tipuli b'mashke, you're dipping something into liquid, so we wash for it. Even the whole year, you're not mahader, you're mahader Pesach. But putting the potato in l'chora a whole year, you wouldn't even wash for it.
a lot of people like karpas dip it in, especially if it's family, not and not strangers around, not so foreign. I don't know.
What I'm saying is that the derech is
We didn't even take a fork. We just dipped it in.
I once heard from Rabbi Zeda that cinemas and DP camps, or before that one, there was a big hunger. There was Shalom Dacher or something. They served herring and it was a luxury. So all the little hours went wash salata. They came back and snack and made it all up. So then kind of remake and then about it. And not wash for damage of the doing much.
I got a Pesach.
sounds like one of Mendel Brothers' jokes.
Shoot. Take it the way it is.
It says to take Pachot Mekazais. Bedavka, Pachot Mekazais. We shouldn't go into these questions.
That's the shy, right? That's been not mitzad until Yedayim. That's more, yeah, mitzad the bracha achrona. Because the shaila is if this is part of the suda to be nifter in the bracha achrona.
And then you have in mind also on something you can eat Kazait later on.
And I remember the detail because of the maror. I think we learned about it. No?
We do, yeah.
The
I
maror.
have in mind the mar, but you don't.
Yeah, so we try not to eat a kazayas.
It could be that
When the kid like starving is like, why you give me such a small potato? This is the opening of the food.
you don't have utensils, but they all ate with their hands.
In many cases.
Yeah.
They did, unless they really need it.
So it remained like this by carpets that we watched.
Right, people didn't have it.
But it's a good point. No one lapayel by most Sadarim, they're not taking forks. It's true. There was probably isn't even forks yet on the table yet. They don't even set up the forks yet till later on to Shulchan Aruch. There's so much on the table with the matzahs and the kaira that people don't bring the forks till later. But a whole year long, really, you would use a fork. You would only eat put it in with a fork. It's probably the potato. Maybe not. I don't know.
Where those silicone gloves, then that's giant. What?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And the
Pesach,
state we didn't bedafka that it shouldn't stop us.
in Pesach, they have the plate with the potatoes, and they take the melach, what a melach, and just pour it into this.
On the
They don't-
potatoes?
Yeah, they don't do it.
No, we did.
Who poured it
I
on?
was one time.
They pour the salt on the potato?
They have a salt and water, right?
Yeah.
have cut potatoes on the plate and pour the water, the salt, and then give each one, take one. Over the photo.
Our minhag is matbili. You take
I
and
know,
you
I know.
take.
Yeah, but he saw somewhere he's saying.
I saw pleasure of doing it.
The only thing we do with Billy in Pesach is we take the matzah and we put salt on the matzah once a year. Usually you take the bread and dip it 3 times in the melach.
Maybe this place they had a lot of guests.
Yeah. They don't want
What the Chabad do in Storim, they have like a small crowd al Hanukkah. They put pieces in there and give it to people. So you have next to you already a egg and potato and kappas, you know.
each one individually.
Exactly, like a small cup.
It's nice, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Sivdala de nikra mashkin b'loshen haTorah alazayim mashkin. Shamayim v'yayim v'Hashem v'Acholov v'Tal v'Dvash d'voidim v'dam behim achai v'oif. Going shematava by little. How could you ever eat blood? Blood you're not allowed to eat. Of an animal. Shemataba by little fool of b'koach nefesh. A fool for b'koach nefesh. You're eating it. Well, dam dogim any nikra mashke. You're allowed to have dam dogim in haTorah. No problem to eat the blood of fish. You don't have to salt fish. But it's not a mashke. It's not considered a mashke. So a fish, you don't have to wash if you didn't put water, if you didn't dip it in water. I feel a mokim. Shvagilin lasis mashkin l'shia. Mischitas ezepetas like apple juice, orange juice, chosha mashkin Shabbos. And nikra mashkin in tuma, even though for Shabbos purposes, it's considered a mashke. You're not allowed to squeeze an orange on Shabbos, squeeze an apple or a lemon, unless you're squeezing it into food, into salad, into food.
Not for drinking.
Right, not for not into your tea.
Not directly into your mouth.
Right.
But also not.
Oh, if you juice it into your if you suck on it, you could.
Oh, but not we.
I don't think so. Netilas Yedayim So this is not considered a mashke. So we talk about food that is a wet food. It has to be wet because the liquids that Torah says are the quintessential liquids, the 7 mashkin. If it's from juices are not considered liquids. So if it's from a juice, it's only from oil. And by the way, I'm just thinking now, this oil very possibly only means olive oil.
Right.
And therefore a lot of the things that they're making could be they're making it sometimes with canola oil, vegetable oil. Lav dafke. If something has no water,
It's not considered oil.
I don't know if that's considered oil. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I would.
The salad is oil, but it's not oil.
I would imagine it has to be olive oil, and not any other oil. So it could be they're making these various foods with oil, but if the oil is not olive oil, it's not going to fall into this category, B'chlal.
You need to look at.
I need to look that up. Yes, I need to look that up. Shekayach.
I wouldn't want to tell that to a kitchen.
And what happens if you mix together liquids, that 2 different liquids, you go after the majority. So even if there's water in there, but if the majority is a liquid that's not chayiv, you go after the majority. So if it had one of the mashkin, it had one of the 7 mashkin but on the other hand, there's something else, another liquid, you know, like they make a dip, you mix some 2 liquids together, mix it together, you go after the rive.
If it's like something made from concentrate, then it depends on the percentage in the.
Concentrate is a concentrate, yeah, but concentrate you always have more water than
Right, so presuming you have more water.
Water in that case. True, it's a good point, because if you're drinking from concentrate, then those juices would be chayiv. But if it's pure, then no. Even if there's a little water in there, it's bottled.
Now, the US or the rule that I can list in the ingredients, the item that has the most quantity has to be listed first.
Yes.
Look that way, maybe.
Yes, yes,
Or-
sure. Good way of looking, yeah. So this could be if we work out that the olive oil and it's only olive oil and majority of liquids are not,
I have no idea.
a lot of situations don't come under the. You have to keep in mind the various halachas that we would be chayav.
We have 10? About? We have 10?
Shukran for joining everyone.
With you.